Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty and Sportsman's Marine. The first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I am your host, Butch Thierry. I'll be flying solo this week. Captain Richard Rutland was going to be with me, but he left me to go chase some whitetails, so hopefully he has some good luck there. But he did leave us a great inshore report and a winter classic recap that him and Captain Bobby were able to clinch a victory on for the fourth year in a row. So let's get right into these reports. Let's go head on down to Captain Richard Rutland, see what he's up to. All right, folks, as mentioned, we have a great Alabama saltwater fishing report lined up for you guys this week. But first, let's see who's making the show possible. This week's Alabama saltwater fishing report is brought to you by Admiral Shellfish. Admiral Shellfish is located near Fort Morgan, Alabama, in an untouched wild stretch of beach that will be immune from development. Oysters grown at their farm are consistent in size and flavor profile. Frequent handling and wave energy at their unique location creates a sustainable environment in which their oysters thrive. This combination results in the perfect half-shell presentation of the Admiral oyster. Learn more at admiralshellfishcompany.com. And also brought to you by Fishing Chaos. Fishing tournaments coming up near me. Do you fish in a club? Do you manage a club? Does your club hold fishing tournaments? If the answer is yes to any of these, now is the time to reach out to Fishing Chaos. Get your club listed and managed on Fishing Chaos now for free. Contact Jesse Wilson for details at 256-508-1853 or go to fishingchaos.com to schedule a demo. Also, Riccadoni Family Dentistry. You're going to need a good dentist, so you may as well make an appointment with fellow angler Josh Ricciardoni. He provides services for all ages and accepts most dental insurances. Do not let an achy tooth ruin a day on the water. Call today to book an appointment at 251-342-6672. All right, folks, let's head on down and get our inshore report for this week. Let's talk to Captain Richard Rutland with Coldblooded Fishing. How we doing today, Cap?
Man, I'm doing good. Trying to stay warm this week, man. Nice little cool off down here in South Alabama, man. It's definitely a nice change. Changes things for fishing, obviously, but it's a nice and welcome change down here instead of being in shorts, and t-shirts and stuff, flip-flops, stuff like that. You know, it actually feels like wintertime, and the fish are kind of getting in that wintertime mode too. So that's been a nice change.
Yeah, Melissa's been making fun of me. I've just been wearing shorts and t-shirt and flops around the house, just freezing my face off because I love it. I was so tired of sweating for so long. I was just like, bring it on.
Yeah.
What's that noise? We are the champions.
Oh, daggum. You must have heard me and Bobcat.
Man. Yeah,
me and Bobcat closed out Patrick Garmison's Winter Classic this past weekend. Big comeback story for us. We were down, I think I did the math on it, and we were down 3.52 pounds after day one. So we had a lot of ground to make up for day two, and damn if we didn't do it. We had a big comeback.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
I think we ended up with about over an 18-pound stringer for day two, and ended up winning by about 3 pounds to take the win. So it was it was real tough fishing both days, man. The one thing that comes along with wintertime fishing, you know, the trout are cold-blooded animals, so their metabolisms are controlled by the temperature, and we kind of noticed in the last tournament we had a little bit of a cool off like this, and you're getting bites and just can't stick fish. You know, it's like they're not sucking it in all the way or whatever. It really got tough on us in that one. We didn't do well in the last tournament, and then this one, same thing kind of started to happen. We had to switch tactics a little bit. We really like throwing that slick lure in tournament season, but it just wasn't working for us, so we had to resort to grub. You could just see on the bottom machine, everything was just gravitated right towards the bottom. You know, everything was like a foot or two off the bottom, the bait and the fish that we were marking while we were fishing some of the tidal rivers, and that ended up being the trick, having to switch over to a grub and found a little bit of light and closed it off. Man, it was a great tournament. I tell you that Patrick Garmison, of course, I'm not telling anybody who doesn't listen to him that doesn't know he's a great,
fish head, just all around fish head.
Yeah, he is. But golly, he puts on a great tournament. It's really cool how we keep up with everything with the Fishing Chaos app. You know, as you're sitting there weighing in, you know, you can sit there and look at the
checking
app
the
on
app,
your phone.
refresh.
Oh yeah, it's really neat. It makes it, back in the day, you did everything on paper. Now it's all digital like that. It's kind of cool. You can really do a lot of math and know what you got to make up to win and whatnot. We were chit-chatting with some of the kayak guys. They had a tournament on Saturday. So
I saw a bunch of them in here in Foul on Saturday.
Yeah, they had a tournament on Saturday.
That makes sense.
And I was chit-chatting with one of the guys by our boat. He was saying, yeah, I'm sitting in second place right now. Nathan Rich, he's down in first. He's down here, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, man, that's cool, because those guys catch fish and take pictures and use link, and then they know right where they are the whole time. So I was kind of thinking it's kind of like that for those guys, kind of like that major league fishing, like the bass fishing. Those guys are all getting updates to who's where and as far as the tournament standing goes.
Yeah, I guess that's an advantage. I guess it could drive you nuts too. You know what I mean? If you're sitting there.
Yeah, it can kind of tell you I guess it can kind of tell you what you need to do sometimes too. If you're not on big enough fish, you need to
make a big move or something.
Yeah, swing for the fence kind of deal versus kind of go for more consistency.
True. Yeah, I guess if you're sitting there and you're monitoring the app, and you're in the midst, of 4 or 5 people, then you can kind of keep on doing what you're doing. But if you're down 4 or 5 pounds, I guess you need to make a big move and, like you say, throw a Hail Mary and go for the lunker.
Yeah. I don't know. I hate being distracted like that though during a tournament too. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. It's kind of a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, sit there looking at your phone when you should have your line in the water kind of deal. But
yeah,
I look for the fishing to kind of looks like this whole week we're having, lows down in the 30s, and then on into the weekend, it's going to stay cold. So these fish are going to start to get acclimated and get pretty set up and to where they're going to be. Most of what the success we found was generally in the deeper holes of, and not necessarily like when I was practicing for Patrick's tournament. We had one morning where the water, the temperature in the water, in the tidal rivers, where you'd find a bend with something deep, where it'd go from like 4 or 5 foot and then get down to about that 12 to 15 foot and then come back up. And that's where everything was starting to congregate, was in some of those deeper bends, and they were up. They had pushed up the rivers too. You know what I mean? You weren't finding them down by the miles or anything. So anywhere you can find, and some of the little creeks that we were catching them in, I mean, they're sometimes just a little bit wider than the boat is long, like I almost have trouble turning around in some of them, Yeah,
that's fun. That's fun fishing up there. And I like it when it gets like that.
Yeah. It's kind of one boat kind of places, like not multiple people can get in there and get on top, because you'll definitely spook them. But, like I said, on practice, we were catching them on slicks and grubs. I tell you what was really working good for me was that Swamp Thing little slick. Was really going good, and I was fishing it on a 3/16 ounce twist lock hook. It was a little bit heavier, and I was really just working it like a grub. It really, really light presentation. And what I think that was doing for me was throwing that a much lighter jig head. Is when you're jigging it, it's we're kind of talking about it with Beach Bum a couple of episodes ago. When I was jigging it, it's falling, so your fall is so much slower when it's coming down. These fish are slowed down because of the water temperature and whatnot, and it gives you just a lot more chance of getting a bite and the fish to find it and get on it and eat it. And it's not that much plastic too for them to inhale. So I think that kind of goes a long way with.
You're covering more of the water. You're keeping it in the strike zone longer.
That's right.
Covering more of the water column slower.
Yep, that's right.
Definitely makes sense.
Electronics really went a long way. This one, you could start getting around using that side imaging and down imaging from these from my Ray Marine machines, and you can see where there's schools of bait, and then you can start to mark the fish, especially when you get in these deeper holes. Like when you start to get in that 10 to 15 foot of water, using the side imaging stuff, you can nail their with
really
that
pinpoint
sonar.
them.
Oh yeah, man, that goes a real long way.
Yeah. So talking about Saturday, I mean, it was pretty dang cold. What were the water temperatures looking like, and what do you feel like? I know you said you all were a little bit behind on Saturday. What do you feel like made the difference? You guys you said you made up some ground on Sunday. Did y'all audible or totally punt, or what kind of made the difference?
Well, we had plan A, plan B. You asked about water temperatures. I'll answer that question first. Saturday, we were seeing water temperatures in the low 50s, like right around 51 to 53 degrees. And then it got even colder Saturday night. And Sunday, we were seeing 49 to 50, about 49 to 50 degrees in the morning. And then it snuck up a little bit throughout the day. And we kind of struggled to get our stringer fish both days. early. Like I said, we were kind of getting bit a bunch, and it was driving us crazy, man, because we were getting these great bites and even hanging the fish for a second, and then they were shaking off, and we weren't, I don't know if we weren't fishing good or the fish just weren't helping us by biting good. But we went, like I said, on our comeback day on Sunday, we kind of sat there and we were watching the tide gauge on the NOAA app there, and we could see that we had
that made a difference.
Yeah, we had a good, the water started moving in real good, and we found a deep little section. It was an audible call, it was a plan B to get back in there, and it was in one of the deeper parts of the main river in Dog River. And sure enough, we found a nice little school of biting fish. Bobby caught one that was about 5 pounds. Man, I was patting him on the back because he's a terrible grub fisherman, and he'll tell you that on here. Yeah. He's not a great grub fisherman. That joker hung our 2 biggest fish on the stringer on a grub. I was like, look at my man helping me out in the grub,
coming through
in the deep water grubbing. So that was fun. And then and to that fact too, we had another team kind of come, not on top of us, but they were, a good 7,500 yards away from us. And they got all their stringer fish right at the same time, right within sight of us, But man, it was a tough tournament. I don't think anybody zeroed in the tournament, but yeah, a lot of guys only not weigh in like a full stringer and whatnot. I know Patrick, God love him, he struggled real bad too. And in the tournament, I think he told us he wanted to sink his boat with everything in it on Sunday. I told him get back on that horse, man. He's gonna be he'll find his way again. But that's just tournament fishing, If we wanted to go catch fish, we can go catch fish. When you're trying to win a tournament, your whole
it's a whole different mindset. That's right.
Yeah, you're not trying to get a lot of bites, you're trying to get the right bites.
Yep.
So,
no doubt.
But a lot of tough competition out there. Well, we kind of got a lot of help from the 2 teams that were leading ahead of us from day one. We're both fishing. I believe they're fishing the Industrial Canal, and that place can be inconsistent like that. They'll chew one day and then not the next. And some of those guys didn't get their bites or had missed opportunities and whatnot. And man, we just hung in there and got lucky.
I don't know if you can call it lucky after 4 or 5 years in a row.
Yeah, I think this is our 4th year winning it. We won 3 in a row, and then last year Jamie and Scott Stevens knocked us off, and we ended up 2nd place. And then we got it back, and they were actually leading the tournament after day one. That this past weekend, and then we snuck back in there and got them.
That's fun, man. That's a pretty intense conditions. I mean, what else made the difference? Did you figure anything else out?
Tell you, playing with the colors a lot.
Yeah. I meant to ask that question a minute ago. You said the Le Mans did good.
Yeah, that swamp thing did real good. Yeah, the swamp thing did good for us. At our A spot where we started, we originally found the fish. I was catching them all on cool beans while we were practicing, and we went back with that for our tournament and weren't getting a lot of bites. And I tell you the other thing that was kind of funny too is that the bites came in flurries. I don't know what that was about, but it was like we get like 4 to 6 bites, like real quick, like in a 5 to 10 minute time span, and then nothing for like 30 minutes. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 we get a couple more bites again. But one thing we kind of figured out with the colors was just kind of trying to do something different than what my partner was doing, which he was sticking to that cool beans. And I threw out the goblin and boom, I think I put 2 or 3 fish on the stringer real quick. And then he switched over and we both started getting bit, and that was the color for the day. So that'd be something I'd encourage everybody, that's listening, is to change colors,
Yeah, and Bobby talked about that a bunch last week, actually.
Right. Yeah. Or, you go fishing with a buddy or something, you pick a color, he picks a color or whatever, and keep it kind of swapped up a little bit until you start to see a pattern.
Dialed in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I know we've talked about it on here before, but I know in Patrick's tournament, the Winter Classic, you get bonus points for keeping fish alive. I would assume it's much easier to keep fish alive as cold as it is with the water temperature, because I think that hot water in that live well makes it more difficult. But do you have to do anything different whenever you're keeping those fish alive this time of year?
No, not really. I tell you, I don't know what the deal was. A lot of teams had trouble keeping fish alive this tournament. And that could have been a result of maybe the water temperature on the surface being cooler than down deep.
Ah, that's interesting.
So maybe the opposite of what you're thinking,
right?
The water being warmed up in the live well. Now we were lucky and we weighed in all 10 of our fish over the course of the tournament. We all were alive. So we got a nice bonus. Yeah. We put about 2.5 pounds on our stringer as a result of weighing them all in alive.
That's a big deal.
Oh yeah. But no, not to answer your question. And I almost had the other thought, the other side of that was, man, I wonder, I even asked Bob, I was like, man, I wonder if the water's too cold in the live well, we need to like, I don't know how the heck you'd warm it up other than bringing like hot water in hot water in a thermos or something, you know,
I don't know.
To warm it up a little bit somehow. But you know, one thing that we definitely did that I didn't hear other teams talking about was we put a little bit of salt in our water. Salt water is more dense, so it's going to tend to sink and be on the bottom. Fresh water is going to float. So when you're catching these fish in these, you know, like these 10 to 15 foot holes that I'm talking about, your salinity down where the fish are living and the temperature is going to be warmer and more saltier down there than it is up on the top.
Yeah, if you're pulling off the top, it's going to be a lot less salty, you would think.
Yeah, that's right. And then we use some type of additive to take the ammonia out of the water. We were using G-Juice over the weekend. One we've been using for years is called Rejuvenate, and it just turns the water green. You don't need a whole lot of that, just a little bit. That takes the ammonia out. And you'll see when your water quality in your live well starts to take a downturn, you'll see a lot of like kind of brown, funky looking stuff floating around. That's ammonia. That's their, you know, what they're what they're doing. Yeah, what they're excreting out. And so when you start to see that, your water starts to foam up, or you'll see that little brown stuff start floating, you're going to want to do a water change or try to skim some of that stuff off the top of the water. And then we always fish the Contender in the Winter Classic because it has got the biggest live well known to man. It's just really broad. It's not that it's so deep and holds a lot of water, but it's real wide and, you know, almost rounded corners and whatnot. And what we'll do is get the recirculating pump head sprayed one direction, so it almost creates a little current. Yeah, it creates a little current. That's why the live well on the
escape is so good.
That's right.
It was square, and they circle it off, and they can swim in circles, and it doesn't bust up their nose joining into those corners. That's a big deal.
Yep, and you'll see those trout when we get them in the live well, they're just kind of swimming just slowly against that current, and because they can't sit still. I don't think trout sit still in the water like a bass or a redfish can. You know, they kind of need to be always swimming. Or and I think that's why they do good, like when in certain areas, like when there's tidal movement versus no tidal movement, you know, they're kind of, the tide's coming right at them and they're just kind of sitting there swimming, waiting for something to come by.
Chilling to ambush. Yeah.
Yep. So that Contender live well goes a long way, man.
Speaking of Contender, I know you were a little nervous about getting your new boat and the T-top, and you got a half tower on that rig now. What'd y'all think about it?
Man, it did good. It did real good.
It looks dang good. I saw a picture. She's pretty.
Well, thank you, man. She ran good. Got my break-in period started on it, and got the live well and everything. You know, all my systems are go right now on it. So that's the boat I'm fishing out of now. I was a little bit nervous about that going to the tournament, fishing out of that one, but everything worked good.
Good.
The T-top's not really getting in the way, kind of like I thought it would. It's you got to be careful around it for sure.
Yeah.
The way they made it, it's a little smaller, so there's still great fishing room off the back of the boat, off the rear casting platform, and then on the front, as long as you're just looking behind you before you cast, pretty good shape. I like it.
Sweet, man. Well, congratulations again. I know y'all had a fun time doing that. It's a little bit cold. I'm sure Bobcat was probably whining about how cold it was.
Oh man, we brought that was one thing we had to really focus on ahead of time, was making sure that we dressed right and that we bring little things like hand warmers and stuff, because you know you can't always fish with gloves on very good. I know I can't.
With gloves, I can't do it.
I know. And then so keeping your hands warm. And the other thing too, we're kind of talking about, we were expecting it to be like brutally windy and cold on Saturday, and we prepared ourselves a lot for nothing. It ended up being really, really nice fishable conditions all day. So
yeah,
it worked out good. Yep.
Awesome, man. We appreciate the report. It's always good to hear from you. If folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Check us out on Coldblooded Fishing and get my contact info. Give me a call or text, 251-459-5077. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook.
All right, man. We appreciate it. Be safe out there. Keep whacking them. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. That was another great segment. Let's take a quick break and hear from a few of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Sportsman's Marine. Sportsman's Marine has an extensive tackle selection of anything that local anglers need for saltwater and freshwater fishing, as well as boating accessories. They have the largest selection of the slick lure in Mobile and Baldwin County. They have AFTCO, Pelagic, and Saltwater Fanatics apparel along with other local brands. Go check out their Edgewater, Wellcraft, and Vecsey lines of boats. They offer engine services with 5-star Yamaha and Mercury mechanics. Also, if you're looking for a street legal electric golf cart, go check out their Atric golf carts. Sportsman's Marine on Highway 98, and they also have a downtown location next to Mr. Jean's Beans in Fairhope, Alabama. And also brought to you by Photonis Defense. Photonis Defense is proud to offer the PD Pro line of night vision systems. The PD Pro series is the world's smallest and lightest night vision goggles built around the Photonis 16mm filmless 4G image intensifier tubes and their hybrid filmless 18mm image intensifier tubes. The ultralight, ultra-compact night vision systems deliver cleanest image, best resolution, smallest, most transparent halo, and best overall performance and function of any night vision system available. The PD Pro line consists of the PD Pro M 16mm monocular, the PD Pro B 16mm binocular, and the PD Pro Q panoramic night vision system. Photonis Defense, masters of darkness. All right, folks, rolling into the next segment here. We're going to go down with Thomas Hilton, a RealTime Navigator, and get an offshore snapshot for our second report. We're going to go check in with my buddy over at the Northwest Florida. How we doing today, Joe?
Doing great, man. Doing great. How are you?
Doing good, man. Got this cold weather. Got me interested in what's going on offshore. I know we talked to Captain Adam last week, I believe that was, and he was hunting some warmer water and found some mahi in January. So that's a good New Year's surprise.
Yeah, let's go check in with Tom Hilton and see where that warmer water is this week. Tom, what's it looking like out there? Are we finding some pelagic type water out there?
Hey, Joe. Hey, Butch. How y'all doing?
Doing
Man,
good, buddy.
doing
Welcome
great.
back to the show. Good to have you.
Yeah, thank you. The warm water is always out there. It's just way the heck out right now. In the loop current, it's in the lower 80s. Now we have some backflow eddies that are bringing these warmer, clearer tendrils of this loop current water up either north or west. Some of it's washing up into the Lloyd's Ridge area. Some of it's offshore the Mirage Titan rig out there. And just this one backflow eddy I was just looking at is got 78 degree water, which is kind of on the lower comfort zone for billfish, or at least blue marlin. You can get white marlin in a little bit cooler water than that, but I generally don't try to target them unless it's, it's upper 70s to the upper 80s. It's kind of, Mother Gulf is teasing us right now. I mean, it's just out, say, about 25 miles off of it's a Mirage Titan rig.
So, Tom, I think it would be helpful. Like, we're sitting here, of course, as we're recording, we're staring at a screenshot. Folks, when you're listening to this, if you'll go over to the RealTime Navigator Facebook page for Wednesday, January 26th, check out that screenshot that Tom posted there. It'll give you a good representation as we're talking through this, is what Tom's looking at. Now, Tom, we're staring at a really big mass of warm water that, like you said, is way, way to the south. It's got those tendrils, almost looks like a witch's fingers in a way, that are kind of extending out off that big mass. And that's that eddy. You're creating that eddy that you're talking about of warmer water. When I'm looking at that, I'm seeing this mass of warm water. Like you mentioned, it is kind of close to Lloyd's Ridge. It's not in the area of most of the oil platforms. So if I was staring at this, I'd be thinking, which way is it going? I'm looking at it almost like a thunderstorm. And is that thunderstorm going to hit me, slide north of me, south of me? So how can somebody use this tool to predict, maybe, look at the past of where this water was and maybe where it might be heading to help them plan a trip?
Yeah, the RealTime Navigator site, we have the tools that allow you to compare shots against one another using our trip planner, where you can create routes along the frontal edges of these tendrils and compare that route to all your different parameters, your bottom topography, your currents, your altimetry, your watercolor, your chlorophyll, or you can compare it to its own history. So we don't let go. We're kind of different from most services in that we don't let go of any data. So you can go back on the archives for quite a while, depending which imagery you're looking at, but you can go back years. Why did I catch my fish on that spot on that day? But if you're just looking to determine what the tendencies are for a trip, like say tomorrow, you can identify the latest position of these edges and then compare it to its recent history. Go into the archives and pull the shot down that's 2 hours, 4 hours, 8 hours older. And so you'll still see the route on the image depicting the latest position, and then you'll graphically see where these structures are on those previous shots. So you can actually see them forming. They'll grow in intensity. They'll reach out, get bigger, and then they're also moving in a certain direction. So then you can use the nav tool and measure and see how far it traveled, let's say from the latest shot to say one that was 4 hours older. And let's say it moved 2 miles. So you know that it's moving northwest at half a knot. And then you can interpolate where it'll be when your boat's out there. Let's say your boat's out there 10 hours from the latest shot, and you can adjust your route to intercept it to be, let's say, 5 miles from the latest position.
Right.
So you'll know to start looking for it at that point anyway, if you're just using a static image.
Yeah. So you kind of take that bearing to try to find these edges, these breaks, these temp breaks. And then also, like you've talked about on past shows, you're trying to find a way to stack the cards in your favor. So maybe looking to say, all right, how long has maybe the blind faith, if it's been in warm water, how long has it been in warm water? If we're going,
right,
hey, we got to go to the blind faith or the Houdat, well, which one of those has been in warm water the longest? What are some of those other factors? This time of year, of course, we talk about the contrast in water temperature. If you've got good water temperature and maybe you've got a structure, maybe you've got multiple structures, what else are you going to look at from that point? Or what's your next big factor, wintertime fishing? Are you looking at altimetry or chlorophyll? What matters to you for pelagic?
I'd say currents is very important. You want to have some decent current. And then again, these plumes, when they come in, I remember a couple of years ago, there was a couple of backflows that were coming north out of the loop current, one on the east side and one on the west side of the loop. And it looked like kind of like a crab, reaching out toward Alabama. So on the westward, it went straight up and basically dead ended into the river rip. It kind of it was like a direct hit, and then it splayed out. And I was talking with the captain, and he was saying, what do you think? And I'm like, anything, all these structures that are inside of that plume, it's all game on. Also, not just the structures in the plume itself, but these plumes also create edges where flotsam and sargassum will collect. And so the edges also are structures that you want to target. So it gives you a lot of options when you're seeing these backflows. And this time of year, temperature really is your critical. I mean, depending on the species you're going for, but if you're bill fishing or looking for Dorado and so forth, you're really looking for the warmest water you can find. In the summertime, we'll be looking for the cooler water, and so will the fish.
Yep.
So that's pretty important. Water clarity, it's a mixed bag. I prefer to see, clear water, but I've seen plenty of good fish caught in green water as well. It's not a do or die deal breaker. It's if you see a bunch of, it's like what you're saying, if you have some warm water, some good current, it's washing into a nice structure, you got 3 good cards in your poker hand. Whether or not the watercolor's cooperating in that regard, it's not. You can just make a call and say, "Well, I got 3 aces here. I think I'm good. Let's
right.
go."
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I mean, we've all had those trips where, you're in blue water and nothing was happening. And I've definitely had trips where we're in green water and we were just bailing them. So
right.
That's not going to be my deciding factor. But if I could choose one or the other, I'm certainly going to pick blue water over green. But, like you said in the beginning, we got this mass of warm water out there. It is a big old tease. It's right on the edge of a lot of structures, but it's not really on them. Which way is it heading? Have you looked to see how this water is sliding? Which way it's going?
I created a route along the northern and western edges of this backflow eddy on a shot that was at 0330 UTC, and compared it to a shot that was about a little bit over 9 hours prior, and it is moving west-northwest at about half a knot. So it's inching its way. Mother Gulf's teasing us here.
Yeah. it's just out of reach from a decent amount of structures. It's one of those things you got to keep your eye on it. And then, like we talked about at length last week, you watch these weather windows. You see a weather window this time of year. Compare it to the shot that from RealTime Navigator. Look and see what water looks fishy and go for it. Of course, it's very helpful that if anybody's wanting to learn how to do what you just did, to figure out where that warm mass of water is, they can call you up, talk to you, and you can work with them to figure out how to use this tool, because it's correct. Very advantageous. Well, man, it's boat show season, Tom. A lot of folks releasing some new stuff out onto the market. You got anything new brewing in the RealTime Navigator lab?
Well, funny you should mention that. We do. We're going to be at the Miami show this next month, and we've got a new product called Sat2Nav. It's Hilton's helm charts. So we're bringing Hilton's into the helm, so you can use it, navigate on it, access the site, view videos, all from multifunction display from your helm.
Awesome.
And it's really a really cool system. We're very excited about it. We're working with a display company named Seatronics. They're very well respected in the industry, and we've perfected the system using their displays. And I believe, I'm hopeful. I haven't seen it 100% for sure yet, but I believe that we'll be able to plug and play the system into your existing Furuno or Simrad fairly soon. But I'm not there yet, but that's where I'm heading.
Man, that's going to be so cool to be able to just get these. If I'm understanding you correctly, you're going to be able to do what we just did 60 miles out, 100 miles out, anywhere you want to do it. You're going to be able to pull these shots up and make these determinations in real time.
Yes, it's all relative to your access. And the system has Wi-Fi, it's got GPS. Let's say you're connected through your hotspot on your phone while you're at the dock. It'll pull up both the site and the navigation side at once, and then you go in and save your charts. It automatically saves the charts into the navigation side, and then you shove off and go fish. For the boats, and that's more than sufficient for the guys that are doing a day trip, which means they leave the dock that morning, you go fish, you come back to the dock that evening. Some of these services claim that they have quote-unquote real-time imagery while you're out there to download. That's really kind of disingenuous in a lot of respects. But you don't need to be messing with all that while you're out there fishing. You need to be paying attention to, catching fish while you're out there. Mm-hmm. When you're out there for multiple days, like a lot of these tournament boats, will be out there 2 or 3 days at a time. You can still access it through your SATCOM Wi-Fi interface. So you have a Wi-Fi router interface with your satellite system, and just go in, save your charts. I went to Australia about 2.5 years ago, brought my own SATCOM Wi-Fi system with me in my luggage, set it up on the vessel. We were out on the Rowley Shoals for 8 days in the Indian Ocean out in the middle of nowhere. I knew the boat didn't have satellite, but I was testing all of this so that my customers would know what is involved. And I would go up, pull down the shots, and then bring them into, at that time, my iPad to navigate on. And normally need 2 or 3 or 4 shots. And then once you save them, then you disconnect from the satellite phone. But on average, it's about 1 megabyte per image, which is, I think, very, very economical.
Yeah.
Very cool technology.
Amazing technology. I can't wait to see this stuff out and follow along. So, Tom, if folks want to get hooked up with the RealTime Navigator subscription, get access to everything I've been talking about, what's the best way for them to reach out to you and set this thing up and get some training if they need it too, just to be able to figure this tool out?
Sure. I encourage all of my subscribers, if they have a question or an issue, just contact me directly. I've got quite a few of them and quite a few subscribers, but it doesn't take very many calls to figure it out. And the website is hiltonsoffshore.com, and my contact information is on there on the contact page, my email and my cell phone. Like I said, I encourage them all.
Well, Tom, it's always a pleasure doing this with you. We appreciate you contributing every time, and we're going to be looking forward to next month. Maybe we're going to have even better conditions then. I'll be excited to talk to you then.
Yes, sir, Joe. Well, thank you.
All right, Tom. Thanks for being on, buddy. Safe travels. Talk soon.
Thanks, Butch. Good talking with y'all.
All right, Butch. Always cool stuff. He's just such a mad scientist. Like he's always whipping up new tools and
He knows his stuff, man.
Not going to be too long. He's going to be like, there's probably some 300 to 400 pound marlin. On this
Right around this
break.
area here.
This one over here is probably holding like, I would say 700 to 800 pound marlin.
Oh, man, there's no telling what's next from that guy.
All right, man. I got to wrap this thing up.
Same. Got to finish the reports. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good show.
Tight lines.
Roger. Well, that was another awesome report, and it was brought to you by KillerDock. As anglers, we put a lot of time, money, and passion into fishing, but most of us do not have a fish cleaning station that we are proud of. Many of us are suffering from dock dysfunction. A rotten table with rusty metal, this is just no good. But the dock enhancement that we've all been waiting for is finally here. KillerDock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. KillerDock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit KillerDock.com to see more. And also brought to you by Fishbites. Are you tired of scrambling for bait whenever you decide to go fishing? Have an artificial bait that's better than live bait, ready to go at a moment's notice with Fishbites. It's easy to pack and travel with, and it's also shelf-stable, and not to mention tough. With Fishbites, the bait stays on the hook and the fish stay on the bait. Check out the full line of scented saltwater, freshwater baits, and tackle at fishbites.com. All right, folks, let's go get our last but not least report for sure. We'll head on down to Orange Beach, Alabama, Sam's Bait and Tackle. Let's talk to Chris Vecsey. What'd you say, Chris?
Not a whole lot. Just, waiting to see if we can warm up a little bit this week.
I don't think it's going to happen this week, Cap. I don't think it's going to happen the weekend either. I was looking at the forecast. It's going to be pretty chilly for a little while.
Yeah, it's definitely not the time to have your heat go out, which happened to me this week, by the way.
Of course it did. You got a fire built in the living room, on the living room floor in there. Pretty dang chilly.
I definitely contemplated it. I mean, we got plenty of wood furniture that I could scrap.
Repurpose.
Yeah, repurpose. Exactly. Well, I don't want the dogs to get cold,
That's true. That's true. Well, what the heck you been up to, man? I know you never know what you're up to, whether you're in back rivers or fly fishing or on the beach or chasing things on the kayak. What you been up to over on the east side?
This week I've pretty much been in the kayak. I haven't beach fished at all this week. Pretty much just going in the rivers, so a little further north here this last week too. But I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. The fishing was very, very, very tough this week. Getting on school-sized trout right now isn't that hard. A lot of them have moved further up into the rivers. But like this week, I kind of had my heart set on certain things, which obviously we'll talk about a little bit. Stripers, got on some stripers. It was not a good bite, but at least catch a couple fish that made it worth it. You know what I mean? Some really, really good quality fish. One of them well over 20 pounds.
Dang.
But the trout bite, I really had my heart set on doing some trout fishing for some really big fish in some of the creeks I target. And the fish were in them the week prior when we got hit with this really bad cold. It dropped the water temps in a lot of these spots down. A couple of these creeks were in the mid 40s. I mean, wow. That is old.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, some of these creeks that I'm fishing in, I mean, you're catching these fish in less than 2 feet of water a lot of time. So, if you have those little mild in-between fronts, you get some bait will stack into these areas. This big trout will move into those areas. When you get overnight lows like we had, into the 20s and, freezing temperatures, that shallow water loses temperature very, very fast. So what it does is not only does it run the trout out, all the bait that the trout would be feeding on is out of there as well. So there was 2 nights and 2 mornings that I'd really planned on going and just head hunting those big trout that I just canceled altogether because there's no bait there. There's nothing there. It's one of those you head into them and you head right back to the ramp. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Captain Richter was talking earlier about the water temperatures and how it chilled off big time into the lower 50s and upper 40s. And he was seeing a bunch of fish way down deep, hugging on that little bit warmer water on the bottom and then that little heavier salinity too.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where, we caught some decent trout this week as far as numbers of trout. If you want to go have action, just fish deep and fish painfully slow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much how we caught all of our trout this week, was fishing deep spots, swim baits. We used some sink and twitch baits too, like the 18 MR, but for the most part, swim baits right on the bottom. That's what caught us pretty much all of our fish. But, I'm always going to spend those early mornings, especially like right as the sun is coming up. I'm going to spend some time throwing jerk baits for those big stripers. A lot of people always ask me where they're at. It's like, if you're trout fishing, you're where you need to be. Believe it or not, there's decent numbers of them, especially as you go up Mobile Bay, and from the Delta, Fish River, all that. You have striper in those rivers and good numbers, and where you're trout fishing, they're there too. But whereas when you're trout fishing, we're fishing deep, we're fishing slow. With the stripers, I like to fish bigger jerk baits, swim baits. Sometimes we'll hit topwater lures, of course, too, but nothing to me is better than a jerk bait, especially something that's like 5 to 5.5 inches long. It looks like a skipjack herring or a threadfin herring. And you can do like a jerk pause. I pretty much mix that in as well as just throwing it and straight burning it back. And when you see bait getting showered along banks, especially like early morning when it's still just about dark out, you'll see those little bait showers on the banks and around piers. I always keep that jerk bait ready to throw into there. And that's pretty much what happened this last week. Me and Dusty were out early morning, real early morning. And we were kind of moving from pier to pier and, just basically doing the normal trout thing. You get out there early, work some docks, work some points. Well, I saw a bunch of big skipjack herring. I mean, these things are like 12 inches. I mean, they're big bait. I saw these big skipjack herring getting showered along this bulkhead, and I immediately flung my jerkbait over there and just started burning it. And I only got about maybe 6 turns of the handle and just got hammered. And the fish ran straight at the kayak initially. It really didn't feel all that big. Once I got it to the kayak where I was in more of a vertical fight, the fish took off upriver and just started peeling line off. And
those things are fun to fight, man.
Oh yeah, they're bulldogs. It's not quite as crazy a fight as a redfish. There's not as many direction changes, I guess, but they stay deep and they just keep that head down. And I mean, it took me, I'd say on that light tackle, it took me at least 10 minutes to land that fish. But
that's so fun.
Yeah, fishes. We didn't have a tape measure. I figured it was around 36, inches or better. I had a 15-pound boga grip, which of course had bottomed out before I even got the fish off the deck. So I was like, well, that was pointless to begin with. But we figured it was in the low 20s. Definitely solid fish though. For down here on the Gulf Coast. But they're so much fun. And then, the sun comes up, switch over to trout and stuff. But every now and then, just throw that jerk bait and just burn it back. Especially if you're marking a lot of bait where you're catching trout. If you got those big schools of shad and other stuff that are moving through the river. Take that jerkbait out and just throw it out and just make 3 casts, just burning it back to the boat. And that's a lot of time that's how you're going to get that bonus striper.
Any specific colors on those jerkbaits, or does it not matter?
I actually think it matters a lot. I used to argue this, but man, over the last 3 seasons, I think if it's anything natural is good, but like the main thing is flash. I do not do good on stripers with flashy baits. I do better on like kind of flat colors. And Zuri, Rapala all make different ones, but anything in like a gizzard shad or a natural shad pattern that isn't overly flashy, it's just like a flat white, usually does really good for me. That could be a coincidence because you know how it is. You catch the most and what you throw the most.
That's right.
And a couple solid fish on one color, it's really hard to switch it up, even though a couple other colors might work. Yeah, a couple other colors might work just as much, but it's really hard to want to switch it up after that point.
No doubt, man. Well, that's fun as heck. Definitely need to start doing some of that. I know, like you say, I've caught them, trout fishing before, just going a little deeper and just changing up my tactics a little bit. Caught a nice one on a cool beans color not too long ago on a slick lure.
Yep, I don't doubt it. Think about the slick. A slick is the size of the mullet or the skipjack that they're feeding on, and obviously you can get it in a color range that's going to suit that. So, anything that has a big profile like that will get their attention. I mean, they're a lot like big trout. They like big meals for the most part. The schoolie striper will hit all kinds of small lures, regardless of what type and color a lot of time. But the bigger fish, they've been around a little bit longer. They can certainly be a little more picky and choosy.
Yep, that definitely makes sense, man. Well, you mentioned redfish. Anything going on in the inshore game over there on the east side as far as redfish goes?
How many redfish I caught this week? Not a single one.
Funny, ain't it?
I'm sure there's plenty of, and the thing is, I'm sure there's plenty of reds. We had them on the grass flat 2 weeks ago, but like I was saying earlier about the shallow water, that water temp came way down. Probably ran the bait out of there. And the one thing about any predators is if you don't have bait, the predators are not going to be there. And I think that if you were to fish shallow right now, you're not going to do as well. But those reds should be in the same troughs and same channels as the trout. But reds are nomads, and they obviously do have a much different temperature threshold than just about any other game fish we have, in our area. They can handle water temps down into the 40s. They can handle water temps up to the 90s. It just nothing phases them.
Right. Yeah, they're just wherever they want to be, really.
Yeah.
Or trout are a little bit different, and they have to follow more patterns.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, like, I would work some creek mouths in some shallower areas. That's probably where you're likely to pick up a redfish, but I still think they're going to be hanging the deeper channel edges of bars and things like that. But if we can get a few good sunny days, on those sunny days, middle of the day is likely when you're going to find them up on shallower mud flats and on the grass. But if I was going to go right now and go fish, I would just make sure I had a wide variety of plastic, and weights, jig heads to suits where I could fish anywhere from 3 feet to 25 feet. I mean, realistically, because we caught a lot of trout this weekend, 18 to 25 feet of water, and then have a good selection of jerk baits and then some faster sinking twitch baits. I think you'd cover just about everything you need to with the weather pattern we're in.
Heck yeah, man. As far as tide goes, incoming or outgoing, put any weight to that recently?
Definitely falling tide. I pretty much always want a falling tide if I'm fishing any of the coastal rivers and creeks. What happens when you get an incoming tide is it backs against the natural flow. You get a much, much, much slower outflow. And you also notice that bait's not being flushed as rapidly. You stop seeing all the surface action. I stop seeing these big wads of bait moving through my depth finder, through the area as I'm fishing once that tide changes. So I'm a huge fan of a falling tide. And I think that's why that early morning has been so critical. Is early morning lately has been that falling tide. You get the last few hours of it, and it's been like a magic, 2 to 2.5 hour period of fishing. But
Man,
the best time to go is when you can. So
it's a fact. Sometimes you don't have a choice.
Exactly.
Well, that's a great report, man. What you guys have going on down at Sam's Bait and Tackle? Any sales or what's new over there?
Yeah, we're getting some new stuff in. I mean, it's hard right now. Obviously there's shortages on everything and delays with everything involved in shipping, but we've got some cool new stuff in. Some more rods from Bull Bay Rods came in today, some more fly tying material. We had our first fly tying class last week over here in Orange Beach, and that was a huge success. We'll definitely be doing that again in the future. Probably schedule another one for next month. We still have some stuff on clearance. We got some discontinued reels. We've got, just stuff, older models that we're trying to send out before the new ones come in. So, we're wheeling and dealing. It's slow right now. Anybody looking for a combo, just come in, see what we got, and see what we can put together for you. It's a good time to come in and, just kind of shoot the bull.
Yep, that's right, man. Well, awesome. We appreciate you contributing as always. You guys go see Chris and Dusty at 27122 Canal Road in Orange Beach, Alabama. And we look forward to talking with you next time. We appreciate you being on, Chris.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right, that wraps up another great segment. You'll take a minute to check out a few more of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by the Hunting Exchange. In this day and age, we all know it is a struggle to sell hunting equipment on a large social media platform, and that's where the Hunting Exchange steps in. Hunting Exchange is an app for iOS and Android that gives you a one-stop shop to buy and sell your hunting gear. Whether you're looking to sell your bow, broadheads, technical apparel, stands, saddles, or anything in between, this secure platform allows you to buy and sell gear with confidence. As a buyer, each dollar you spend is insured by PayPal, and as a seller, there are no hidden charges like other platforms, and listing items is also free. Gone are the days of having listings removed from Facebook and worrying about being banned and removed from groups for wanting to sell something as simple as your bow or knives. So head on over to the App Store or Google Play and experience a new hassle-free way to buy and sell hunting gear by downloading the Hunting Exchange app today. And also brought to you by Test Calibration. If your diesel has low power or is consuming excessive amounts of fuel, these are common signs that your turbocharger may need to be rebuilt. Don't waste your money online with the cheapest options where you get no support after the sale. Test Calibration has been selling and servicing diesel, turbochargers, and fuel injection systems since 1976. No matter if you're running a diesel in your boat, tractor, or truck, Test Calibration can help you. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibrationdieselandturbo.com. All right, y'all, we cannot get out of here without what did you learn? I'll make it short and sweet since it's just me by my lonesome today. Definitely what stuck out to me first and foremost was Richard talking about using that smaller 3/16 ounce jig head to help keep his grub fluttering in the strike zone longer. Definitely picked up on that. I guess you just got to be careful a little bit on that as far as windy conditions. And you can even go a little bit lighter than that, I would imagine, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to cast, especially if it's windy. Like I was saying, you could get a big belly in your line. So we're always talking about optimizing your chances and optimizing your time in the strike zone. And that definitely is applicable in that scenario. It's always good to hear from Mr. Tom. He had a lot of great points. Definitely go check out his Facebook page and look at those screenshots, RealTime Navigator. Very cool stuff out there. Look at that big warm core Eddie. Dude's a wealth of knowledge and he has it going on. All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. Y'all take a minute to check out a few more of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Foster Contracting. Do you need a new roof? Do you have wind or hail damage? You may qualify for a free roof. Foster Contracting will inspect and provide you with an estimate, stress-free, and they will handle your claim with your insurance. Your roof is your first line of defense this storm season. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your day. Foster Contracting has you covered. Check them out at www.fortifiedroofingpros.com or give them a shout at 251-447-2978. And also brought to you by CCA Alabama. A great way to support conservation projects like the Club Petite Flounder and Speckled Trout Hatchery and the University of South Alabama Cobia Tagging Project is through the purchase of a distinctive CCA Alabama saltwater fishing license plate. You guys head over to Alabama Department of Revenue's distinctive license plate page at revenue.gov to get yours. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up this week. You guys please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you'd like us to email you the podcast each week, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Subscribe to our email list, and we'll send y'all the new show each week. You guys keep whacking them. Be safe out there. We'll talk to y'all next week. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by Bahio Sunglasses. See more, catch more. Experience the clearest lenses on the planet with Bahio Sunglasses. Try on a pair at your local retailer or check out BahioSunglasses.com to see for yourself. And also brought to you by MB Ranch King hunting blinds and feeders are built to last, right here in the USA. They offer high quality, easy to use corn and protein feeders that can be filled with both feet on the ground. Call Kevin today for more info or a quote at 205-807-2937. MB Ranch King, built in the pursuit of perfection. And also brought to you by Hilton's Offshore Charts, bringing you the highest quality online satellite fishing chart since 2004. Your source for sea temps, altimetry, currents, and watercolor at hiltonsoffshore.com. And also brought to you by Hilton's Offshore Charts, bringing you the highest quality online satellite fishing chart since 2004. Your source for sea temps, altimetry, currents, and watercolor at hiltonsoffshore.com.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report brought to you by me, Angelo DePaola, The Coastal Connection. Find us online at thecoastalconnection.com.
Also by boaterslist.com. If you own or run a boat, you know how difficult it can be to find the right company for the task at hand. Sign up at boaterslist.com to find a company to work with on your next boat project. Also brought to you by Advanced Transmission in Spanish Fork. Give the professionals a call who have been trusted on the Gulf Coast for over 25 years at 251-626-6061 or check them out online at www.advanced-transmission.com. Also brought to you by Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks are proud to be your metal roofing headquarters for over 40 years. Save time and money by buying from the most reliable manufacturer on the Gulf Coast. Buy it today, pick it up today. With the addition of their new store in Cantonment, Florida, they now have 8 locations to serve you. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks, your metal roofing headquarters.